The light's not on.
Okay, now it's on.
Out.
Okay, ain't gonna go.
All right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pittsburgh Law Enforcement Center for a candidate forum tonight focusing on the upcoming election for Pittsburgh City Commission. My name is Blake Benson with the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce, joined tonight by Ron Womble, the Morning Sun, who is our co-sponsor on the candidate forum tonight. Hard to believe, Election Day is quickly approaching on November 4th. So first of all, I want to thank our candidates, not only for joining us tonight, but filing for office and agreeing to serve our great community in this role. It speaks to your support of the community and greatly appreciate you being willing to step up. Thank you to all of the folks that are joining us in person tonight. There may be some folks that are trying to access this online. There are some issues with the live stream right now, so really appreciate all of Ryan's work in helping us get set up tonight. If we're not able to get the live stream working, the entire forum is being videoed and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel as quickly as possible, so folks that can't be here tonight will still be able to view it at a later date. But really appreciate the city of Pittsburgh for hosting us and Ryan specifically for his work. Some ground rules in the format for tonight. What we will do is each of our candidates will be offered 2 minutes for an opening statement. You'll then be asked two questions that all of the candidates received in advance. We'll then take some time to answer some questions from the audience. And as we have always done, rather than it just being open mic night, the questions need to be written down. We've got notepads and pens at the back of the room. Write those down, submit those to Ron. He'll review those. Our criteria for the questions tonight is that they need to be fair and they need to be applicable to all 6 candidates. That's the way we roll. We feel like that's the most even, fair way to do this tonight, and that will be our format. I will be keeping up with time, and I couldn't find a yellow. This is as close to yellow as I could find in the chamber at 5:30 this afternoon. So when you get within 30 seconds of your time limit, I will put this up, and then when you have exceeded, or you're at your time and are about to exceed it, I'll throw up the red card. So kind of help you. I don't do that to distract you, and as soon as I know that you've seen it, I'll take it back down, because again, I don't want to be distracting, but do want to be able to help you stay on task tonight. So anything that I've forgotten, Ron?
I think you've covered it.
All right, I'm going to get my timer. And we drew numbers at the beginning of the evening randomly, but this is the number, this is the order that you all drew when we did those numbers. So Cheryl Brooks, you drew the number 1, lucky number 1, and so you will offer your opening statement first. You have 2 minutes.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this forum, and congratulations to all these people setting up here. My name is Cheryl Brooks, and I'm a lifelong resident of Pittsburgh, Kansas. I'm the daughter of Jolene and Leo Martinez. I was born and raised here. I was very fortunate to go to St. Mary's Colgan kindergarten through 12th grade. I had a Catholic education. I graduated from Colgan High School in 1981. I met and married my husband, Jeff Brooks, and we were married in 1983, and we just had our 42nd wedding anniversary, and we worked together also. So 42 glorious years. And anyway, I have 2 daughters and 2 son-in-laws, 5 grandchildren, very proud of them all. Together, my husband and I own 3 businesses here in Pittsburgh, and I come from a blue-collar working family, and I'm very proud of that. I know the kind of hard work it takes to make a difference. I believe that accountability and transparency and responsible leadership is the foundation to build a safe and thriving community. I'm grateful to my parents, first and foremost, for the example they set. I have seen and lived what it takes to run a business and a life. My husband and I have built our business on quality work, a fair price, and our reputation, and that means everything to me. We owe it to our children and grandchildren, and these people that are sitting up here, their children and grandchildren, even if they're not born, and yours too. We owe it to them to be good stewards, and that Pittsburgh will thrive for many years to come. And I would appreciate your vote on November the 4th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. DJ Perry, you're up next, 2 minutes.
That's me. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks for the candidates for being here, and Blake and Ron, thank you both for what you're doing too. It's important that we're all here and have this kind of open conversation. About myself, I'm a father first. I've got 7 children, 6 daughters and 1 son. They are my world. Every decision I've made in my life has been towards building their futures and providing education understanding that they need to go into society and be somebody themselves and help others. My wife, she's so supportive. She does so much for that, that we can work together with our different schedules to be able to get them the education they need and where they need to be all the crazy times. I know 7 is a big number. I was born here in Pittsburgh. I went through Pittsburgh schools. I graduated from Pittsburgh High in 1996. I moved out on my own after my freshman year and put myself through high school. Worked multiple jobs, and I played multiple sports. It was very important that I continue to do that while I was in high school to get the whole experience. After high school, I went to work at Superior Industries, for those that can remember that place. I started with a group of 60. After 5 days, there was 5 of us left. It was very hot, very dark, dismal conditions. We made it through. I worked there for several years, learning about foundry work, factory work, and getting people to come together to help each other out. So I left Superior. I went to work for the sheriff's office because I had a calling to serve my community stronger. I served my community for several years in law enforcement and decided to go active duty with the Kansas National Guard. And there, I learned how to be a part of the community and the military and law enforcement all at the same time. It's a wonderful thing. I got a lot of good training. I went to a lot of good schools. I got to help a lot of people. I helped a lot of young women and men figure out their path in life, figure out if they want to join the military, the branches, or go into the military itself. But that's what I want to bring to the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Jackson Bertenzino.
Thank you. Yeah, good evening, everybody. And again, I want to echo what's been said. Thank you, everyone who's coming out tonight. Thank you for all the candidates who came tonight as well, and thank you for putting this on. I am a near lifelong resident of Pittsburg, Kansas. I was raised here. I went to school here. I graduated from Pittsburgh Public Schools in 2017. Went on to get my bachelor's in political science at Pittsburgh State University. And after school, I chose to stay in Pittsburgh. I chose to stay here because it's my home, and I love it. And so I continue to work here in Pittsburgh as a leasing agent at the Edge of House apartment complex. And I live here with my beautiful girlfriend and our 5 kids. I feel like we're competing a little bit. I know, I gotta catch up. Just a joke. But yeah, I chose to stay here because I love Pittsburgh. It's my home. My family's here, my friends are here, my life is here. But I also know that a lot of people my age, and Isaiah's age, chose to leave after school. Either because they couldn't afford to stay here, or because they want many job opportunities there. I believe that it's a big world out there, and so if you want to go out there and explore, that should be your choice, but it should be your choice. You shouldn't be priced out of your home or forced to go elsewhere. Right now, I'm running because having 5 kids, I've seen firsthand how hard it is to support yourself and your children and your family. We all know it, costs are high, right? Everything from housing to childcare, grocery prices. That pain of having to choose between paying rent or buying groceries is one that a lot of families know all too well. So I'm running because I believe that if you love something, you show up for it. So I'm going to show up for Pittsburgh. I'm going to work hard to make this an affordable place to live for everybody. And I thank you for your time, and I would appreciate your vote on November 4th.
All right, thank you. Isaiah Harris, 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for everyone for being here, you guys for hosting, and my candidates. Truly an excellent slate of candidates for sure. If you guys don't know me, my name's Isaiah Harris. I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh, and I went through the public schools, graduated from PSU a few years ago. And something about me that deeply motivates me is I was raised by just my mom. It was my sister and I growing up, and being raised by a single mom, you see so many of the struggles that so many people in Pittsburgh are currently facing right now. Much like DJ, my mom worked at Superior Industries, and she was working there when they closed in 2008. She lost her job, her ability to pay rent, and we ended up homeless. Fortunately, at the time, we were able to stay at the CCAP Family Emergency Shelter, but that shut down in 2014. I got a job in high school at the Mall Deli as a busboy, where I've been ever since the past 10 years. I've worked my way up into management in that establishment. And I met my wife. We got married just about a month ago, and through my job, working overtime to put myself through school, I was able to save up as well for us to be able to buy a house. My wife, at the beginning of the year, went through the licensing process to set up an in-home daycare. And we've seen firsthand just how the story of my own childhood is repeating over for so many people in Pittsburgh. Balancing the costs and availability even of childcare and housing is a struggle that way too many in our town are facing. And so that's why I'm running for the city commission. I have been fortunate in this town to be able to work for what I have, and I want to give back to the community to make sure that anyone worried about costs right now or the future availability of housing or childcare or the stress of property taxes has a voice on the commission that recognizes what that feels like. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Dodd McNay.
Good evening again. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for the forum. My late husband, Chris, and I moved here in 1993. Chris grew up here. We raised our two sons here. They're proud graduates of the center, by the hair of their chinny chin chin, no, and USD 250. I spent my career here in Pittsburgh in the non-clinical end of healthcare. I worked out at Mount Carmel for 18 years and then worked at community health for 11, recently retired in December. And retirement has also allowed me to serve on some state boards. I'm currently on the board of the Kansas Statewide Homeless Coalition and DECA. I believe that if you have been given a lot, that you should give back to your community. So I have spent my time here in Pittsburgh, and I've been lucky that I've had employers that have supported my extracurricular activities. I'm on the board of the USD 250 Foundation, the Pittsburgh Library Foundation, and the Center. And I think what that should tell you is that my efforts have been to improve our community for families. That is very important. Pittsburgh is doing really well right now, for the most part, but we need to assure that the benefits of our growth can apply to everyone, and that takes individuals who are on the commission with experience and passion, and that's what I bring should I be reelected.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Stu Height.
Thank you, Blake, and the chamber, and thank you, Ron, for you both being moderators here, and thank everyone for coming out, and anyone attempting to watch it on the live stream and hopefully on YouTube later on. So a little bit about myself. My name is Stu Height. I'm running for re-election for Pittsburgh City Commission. I was born and raised in Crawford County. I lived in rural Pittsburgh most of my life. 13 years ago, my wife Amy of 29 years, and our two children moved to Pittsburgh, built a house, and made the commitment to move to Pittsburgh. Lived out in the rural community, but we thought that it would be best for us to move into the city of Pittsburgh, and we liked everything that was going on there, liked the services that were offered, and so we decided to finish our children's childhood in Pittsburgh and raise them. And so I've got one Gorilla grad and one freshman Gorilla now, and the Gorilla grad, Grace, is going to Washburn Law School. And the nice thing about that is two things about having two kids that are local and stayed local. 4 years ago, when I ran for election, Grace was the first election that my election was the first election she got to vote in. And this year, Grant will be 19 in mid-November. So this is going to be the first chance he gets to vote. Hopefully, I think I got Grace's vote 4 years ago. I hope I get Grant's. So at least I know I'm going to have one or two. So, but I continually get asked, why am I running for city commission? And it's simply to serve. I've served 37 years in law enforcement, and this is just a way to give back to the community. That's plain and simple what it is. I think Pittsburgh has a lot of great things going, and I want to see that continue. It's been quite an enjoyable seat to have up here on the commission the last 4 years, to see all the good things happening. So I hope that everybody goes out and on November 4th to vote, and I hope I'm one of your 3 votes.
Okay, thank you all. So as I mentioned, we'll now go to 2 advanced questions that all the candidates received before tonight. And the first one of these will be answered first by Mr. Perry, and you'll have 90 seconds to answer each one of these, so a little less time than the opening and closing statements. So the first prepared question for you, Mr. Perry, and for everybody afterwards is, what are the most significant challenges facing the city of Pittsburgh over the next 3 years?
Thank you, Blake. I think the top three right now are the cost of living being out of control. I think we can all agree to that. Our taxation window is also driving from that cost of living. It's getting ridiculous, so we need to look at that and focus strongly on how to reduce the taxation in a modern, effective way. The third thing, I think, bringing in jobs and also having housing for those new members of this society. We've got to have homes for them to live in. We have a lot of people that work in Pittsburgh. They move out of Pittsburgh and they go live somewhere else, but they come back and forth. Go out on 171 in the morning, you'll see it. There's a lot of cars coming and going. So we've got to work on our housing market, and we've got to work on our job force.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Mr. Bertensino.
I'm going to echo him and say that I agree that affordability and costs are probably the two biggest issues facing our community. I think the two big ones are housing and childcare. I think anyone can tell you that housing is one of the biggest issues facing our country right now, and Pittsburgh is no different. I'm a strong believer that if we want Pittsburgh to be a thriving community that encourages people to live here, we have to make sure we're providing enough housing that meets people's needs. When I was young, one of the first houses I lived with my mom was a 2-bedroom household. It was tiny, but it did the job. And then my sister was born, so we moved deeper into town, and we got a 4-bedroom household that better accommodated our needs. Unfortunately, because of our current zoning laws, that type of accommodation isn't always possible for families. 70% of Pittsburgh is currently zoned for single-family housing, which means that if you want to move into a duplex, you want to rent an apartment, you want to add a accessory dwelling unit in the backyard to rent out to someone who's in need of some assistance, you can't often do that, right? And so I think it's important that we are providing the full range of housing that meets everybody's needs, whether you're looking to buy a house, rent, or you're homeless. I think we need to help make it easier for people who are looking to get a loan to have a house. There's a lot of people who are working full-time. They pay their bills on time, but they can't afford to get a loan. That's because a lot of our outdated loan system that makes it really hard. And so I think housing is a big part of it. And then the other thing I would just say is childcare. I think any parent will tell you that childcare is the evergreen issue. Trying to find a childcare that's safe and affordable is really challenging. And so I think part of it is making sure that we are providing resources that will help existing child facilities continue to do their jobs, and create resources to make it easier for new child care facilities to pop up.
Got to cut you off there.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about that.
Sorry. All right, Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir. I think over the next 3 years, there's a couple categories that I would want to split this in, the immediate term and the more medium term. So in the short term, immediate term, we are seeing a massive funding shortage in a few nonprofits that are so critical to our success in the city of Pittsburgh. The Humane Society, the Recycling Center, and then CCAP just recently announced at the previous city commission meeting the impending cessation of public transportation resources. I think if we don't take immediate action as the city, we'll lose not only the convenience and quality of life that these services offer people, but we're going to face increased costs as well, because this is going to fall on the city. If we lose this public transportation and don't get it back, that's an unpredictable and unknowable impact if workers don't have transportation. The SCK Recycling Center covers so many gaps that are involved in trash collection and service. And the Humane Society, if it closes, that will fall onto our animal control department as well. Beyond that, I will absolutely echo what my fellow two candidates have echoed or have said already with housing and childcare. These still remain two of Pittsburgh's most important barriers to economic development in the city. What I want to see from the city is to really have a paradigm shift in thinking about these issues as key areas of economic development for our city, because they really are. Not only do we have a moral imperative to make sure that families have that accessibility to affordable options, but if people can't raise their kids here, and if people don't have housing here, then our town dies.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Ms. McNay.
Sure. We've talked about how Pittsburgh's growing, but Pittsburgh still relies on small business and, to Isaiah's point, nonprofits that provide essential services. It would really be short-sighted of us to overlook the uncertainties that affect their ability to operate, and thereby affecting our ability to be a resilient community. So over the next 3 years, the commission needs to be strategic in how we allocate resources, including city operations, and we need to carefully consider the city incentives that we offer and how are we going to use our debt capacity, and also managing our reserves, and ultimately, as several have mentioned, the tax impact on our property owners. I believe that Pittsburgh has a solid foundation to navigate this period. The budget process the city uses data, and data and commission input to guide decisions, and the city's work is transparent. And we can always look for ways to gain more perspective, but I think those are the areas that over the next 3 years that we need to focus on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Height?
Well, I think there's one thing that we can all agree with in this room, and that may be a monumental thing, but I do believe that we can all agree, let's face it, no one likes taxes. Unfortunately, taxes are what pay for the services that we all expect and demand as citizens of this community. Those are paid, things that are paid for are police, fire, water, wastewater, the streets, obviously, and in unpredictable challenges. And those include strategic planning for things like the wastewater treatment plant that's going to take us 50 years into the future. So it's not just about here and now and, answering the call of different requests that come forward, but it's also about looking to the future as well. So, we have to be great stewards of taxpayer money, and I think the city does a good job of that. I think that it's hard to wrap your head around the budget that the city has, but it's also hard to wrap around what services that we want to continue. We can't continue to add other things and taxing our citizens more by that. So unfortunately, there's a tipping point, and we can't always provide every service that comes before us. We can do our best, and we can work together as a community to try to find answers for that. But unfortunately, it's not always the city commission's venue to do that in.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Brooks?
Sometimes it's not black and white. When you're talking about the budget book, it's a big book with a lot of data in it. What happened to the common sense values that Pittsburgh started with? Because, lessening the burden on the taxpayers and keeping more money in your pockets, that's what it is about living here. Making sure everybody's got a job, that there shouldn't be any unemployment in this town, because I know in my world, there's always somebody needing someone or people looking for jobs and they can't find them. But sometimes you just gotta go with whatever supports your family. And then too, as far as, I have a problem with crime. We have a heck of a sheriff right now that is arresting people right and left. But we need to get these laws changed to keep these frequent flyers in jail or put them in the pen or somewhere else other than in our community. They're wreaking havoc all the time, and we need to get rid of that revolving door. And I support the sheriff's department and the police department, and those guys are out there and women are putting their lives on the line every single day. And Pittsburgh needs this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. All right, our second prepared question tonight will be answered first by Mr. Bertoncino, and it looks a little further out than 3 years. Where do you see Pittsburgh in 10 years, and what specific steps will you take during your term to help us get there?
Yeah. To me, I think one of the things that makes Pittsburgh such an amazing community is that it both has the great services that you would expect from a bigger city, but also that community feel. So I love events like Paint the Town Red and Art Walk and Little Balkans Day. I would love to see more community events like that. I'd love to see the city continue to partner with those organizations and see how the sense of community grow. But I'd also like to see us continue to work with local businesses and community partners to revitalize that downtown area, make it easier for people to live down there, make it more affordable. And just in general, make sure that we are providing the services that people will need to live here, right? So I mentioned housing, I mentioned childcare. And so in 10 years from now, I want Pittsburgh to be the place that when someone graduates from high school or college here in Pittsburgh, this is the first place they choose, right? Because we have great schools, we have affordable housing, we have high-quality childcare, and we have a sense of community that I think a lot of people are missing these days. So I think for me, that is what I would hope in the next 10 years. And I look forward to working with the City Commission on developing that sense of community and making sure that we are continuing to provide the amazing services that our community relies on, like the Humane Society and the Recycling Center. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because those are vital services that I think a lot of people take for granted, and I think would be a huge loss for our communities if we lost them. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Harris?
Absolutely. I think in 10 years, I see Pittsburgh being a more affordable place to live. And here are a few ideas that we can take to get there in housing. I think we definitely need to expand the CHIP program that has seen some success recently in prioritizing local developers through tax and economic incentives to get new housing. Over half of Pittsburgh's housing supply was built before the year 1970. So many are outdated and unaffordable, unavailable even. Thinking about new creative approaches like more rent-to-own housing. We've seen some success with the Pittsburgh Highland development in the past. And as Jack mentioned earlier, Mr. Bertensino mentioned earlier, zoning reform to incorporate slightly higher density housing units like duplexes and triplexes, for example. In childcare, I think we can think of more creative approaches in this area as well. Like I mentioned in my opening, my wife opened a daycare in our house. And going through the licensing process was a real challenge. I think the city can explore an option like working with KDHE and DCF and local childcare experts to create a comprehensive guide to navigate the complex world of licensing and zoning. And that can be done without sacrificing any standards of care or quality. I think property tax relief is an absolute priority for the city of Pittsburgh. I think we can consider things like targeted tax rate freezes for individuals that are suffering the most, seniors on fixed income, and working families that you can say are also on fixed income. We need creative ideas for a new generation of problems that continues to befall us.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McNay?
Sure. So 10 years is a long way out, and most likely key leadership positions will turn over. And it's incumbent on us as leaders to foster that next generation, and I applaud Jack and Isaiah for their candidacy. We have a common vision for our community, and we've heard it through all kinds of citizens' input, and that is, as several have mentioned, a safe community. And the city has been investing in public safety, and we will continue to invest in public safety, not only to support our first responders, but to improve our existing neighborhoods. Also supporting our educational institutions. Our workforce is dependent on the partnerships we have with our educational agencies and organizations, and that's been vital. Because not only does it provide a workforce, but it also provides a quality of living here in Pittsburgh. We should work toward wages. We have had the average income increase. We've had 2,000 jobs added since 2015, but that's just the beginning. We've had measurable success, but those are the priorities that the city needs to continue as we work toward a livable community for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hyde?
Well, here's how I see Pittsburgh, Kansas over the next 10 years, looking ahead. I see ways that we need to continue to find ways of developing economic growth, housing, again, infrastructure, and business. And how we do this is you, all of you, I, and the community as a partner, as a whole, work on these things together and come up with a common goal of what we want our community to look like in 10 years. And I think we have a really good team at the city that does that. Just since I've been on the commission since 2021, I've been a part, got to see $95 million in new economic development in Pittsburgh, Kansas. That's just the 3 years. That's not even counting this year. And what we did was incentivize that through the revolving loan fund, and it cost the city about $3 million in investment. And I've said this many times before, that's a heck of an investment, or a heck of a return on your investment, $3 million from city incentives to get $95 million. Just this year alone, in 2025, we've got current projects at $250 million that are either under construction or getting ready to break ground. That's what helps drive increased wages, what keeps property tax down. That's what we need to do. We need to find those ways to continue to make Pittsburgh fantastic and move forward together.
Thank you. Ms. Brooks?
Can you say the question one
Yes.
more time, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking out a little further, where do you see Pittsburgh in 10 years, and what specific steps will you take during your term to help get us there?
October 20th, 2035. That's a long way down the road. Being in business as long as my husband and I have, I always try to make it to where, what are we gonna do in the next 5 years? It's always gonna change. Things are gonna come and go. There's gonna be bumps in the road. Some days you're on the straight and narrow, and then all of a sudden you're off, and you're off. So it's really tough when you think about it, because we need to make living here as a whole more affordable, like they have been talking about, but not always, it is about the growth, but it's also about the people and making sure that the people can afford to live here. And we can't always take from the people all the time. Sometimes we need to give them something back. And it might be for, a lot of times little kids, for good behavior, you get them candy. Well, people that have paid their taxes, done the work, always, even when people aren't watching, there is businesses out there that need this. And I think sometimes we just need to give these people a hand up also. And it takes a lot of us, all of us to live here. And I just would like to see us give more back, not just take. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perry?
All right, 10 years from now, I want to see my kids thriving in this community. I want to see the local government working together with all groups and everyone for the greater good. I would love to see a more safe, affordable, and thriving community that really has the intent for, like we're all saying, generations to want to stay here and grow their children here safely. In order to do that, we've got to work together. We've got to come up with common sense practices that we're not overtaxing people to kick them out into other communities. We need to make things affordable, create jobs, but we need to focus on the people that are in Pittsburgh first. Then start the balance of focusing on people that may come to Pittsburgh eventually. I think if we do that and we work towards that, we'll get there.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we will move into the portion of tonight's event where we ask questions from the crowd. We've gotten a number of great questions already. One that was asked two different ways, and I appreciate Ron basically kind of combining them into one question so that we're not being redundant. And it'll be answered first by Mr. Harris. And you've touched on this a little bit tonight, Isaiah, but it'll give you a chance to dig deeper, and the rest of the candidates for you to offer your thoughts. So we've heard several times tonight how important the Southeast Kansas Recycling Center, CCAP Transportation Services, and the Humane Society are to our community. Also the concerns about taxes and the budget. So what, if any, responsibility does the city have in maintaining these important services, and how would you go about making those decisions? So let me give you just a minute to think about that. Heard how important these organizations are to our community. How do you balance that with the concern about the taxes and the budget? So first, does the city have a responsibility to help maintain those important services, and how would you go about making those decisions? 90 seconds.
Absolutely. I think the first way to really frame this issue in the way that I think is really important is that these organizations, as they are now, fill a gap. They fill a gap in our community for vital resources necessary for the economic well-being of Pittsburgh. And I hinted at this in the 3-year question, but without reliable public transportation, we're talking about workers not being able to get to work. And the SEK Humane Society and the Recycling Center offer vital resources to our community as well. I don't think the importance of these can be overstated. And so there are creative approaches that I think we can take as a city to both be responsible, I like how Stu used the word steward, of public taxpayer money, and thinking about what investment we can make to continue a return for the quality of life for the people of Pittsburgh. And in terms of continuing to balance the budget, if we don't think about something like loaning money to these organizations, or maybe an emergency sales tax increase on certain unnecessary commodities. Obviously, we wouldn't want to raise sales tax on gas and groceries. We will lose these resources, and then at the end of the day, fundamentally, we will have to pay for them. And it will be more expensive. And if not, it'll be unpredictable. And it's that unpredictability that we cannot worry about in the future. Immediate action needs taken. Sorry to go
No,
over
you're
a
fine.
little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Ms. McNay?
Yeah, sure. In relationship to recycling and the Humane Society, these are county services and not solely responsible, accountable for Pittsburgh. So really, to DJ's point, we should be working with the county to find out, what the entities are willing to put in or to do in order to save those two things. But anytime we add a service, that is where we either need to take something away or we need to somehow increase the budget. That's just budget 101. So as we explore these things, we have to be cognizant of the fact that this is the Pittsburgh City Commission, the Pittsburgh funds. Not to say that we shouldn't work with the county on both of those two areas. In terms of transportation, that, as long as I think all of us who've been around, that has been an issue in southeast Kansas, and it is a barrier to individuals. So whether or not we assist CCAP, I do not know, but we do, as a community, need to come together on the transportation issue.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Height?
So recently, as many of you may know, three of the five of us approved a $70 million plus budget for 2026. Much discussion about that, much discussion after the meeting. We looked at that for 5 months, trying to figure out where we could make cuts, I can tell you from being in the planning of that and having that for 5 months, there's no room to add more services without taxes going up currently. None of the five of us came up with anything to cut. So you can't just add more services. That doesn't mean that they're not vital to the community. It goes back to my point earlier that we as a community need to come together and figure out what that is. We put together a trash service, a solid waste management service in response to community members being unhappy with their trash service. We did that in 6 months' time. We're over 3,000 customers now. So I would hope that maybe someday, and we've talked about it, I'm certainly not promising this, but possibly that service could be rolled into including recycle in the city limits of Pittsburgh or to City of Pittsburgh customers. Again, that's one example of how we maybe can improve on those things. As for the other, there's always going to be a nonprofit that needs assistance. We need to identify other funding sources other than the City of Pittsburgh for every single one of those. So. And that takes a village, so to speak. That's not just 5 commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brooks?
It was not our job to go through the budget and make the cuts. That's what staff did, and we were given the book. And, if you have your own business, I can see it, where you pick and choose what you're gonna do here and there. But as far as the county and the City of Pittsburgh should not totally fund these entities, because it feels like we're pumping money in them all the time, and they're necessary, but they're not a moneymaker for sure. And a lot of times that there's been money, say in the SEK Humane Society, there was a lot to begin with, and now they seem like they're having trouble financially. So it's show me the money type of thing in all three of these. Transportation's important, so is the Humane Society, but we also have our animal shelter out here with the City of Pittsburgh, the recycling center. There's definitely, other than metal, and this is my opinion only, how on earth can you fund a place like that on just metal alone? And then, I think it's a difficult thing. We can't do it ourselves. We can't do it with the county. Somebody in those 3 entities have to be fiscally responsible besides us too.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perry?
So those are very good categories. Those are very good businesses that need to be running. And I agree with everybody, like I said, it's not the City of Pittsburgh that stands those up and keeps them running. We do need to support them as a commission. We need to make sure that the community knows we support them and try to help them find ways to fund it. I know each of those agencies have had benefactors, long-term benefactors, supply money to them over the years, and then in recent years, they have stopped doing that. And that's probably the primary cause for the majority of issues they're having. I don't know if that's where the money's going, what the money's been spent to, the management team that's involved. I'll be very interested to look at that data and crunch that and find out where the issues have shifted in the last 3 to 5 years. But I definitely think we need to support them. I mean, I think one of the commission meetings, somebody from the Humane Society said that somewhere near 90% of the animals that end up out there are from the city of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And I think we need to look closer at animal ownership if we're gonna make that fight. I mean, there's responsibility on each person. When we do that, I think we can kind of move towards the better side of that. The city of Pittsburgh has their animal control, and they do a wonderful job. They have a ton of animals go through there, and they find owners, they find homes, they reunite with families, sometimes not from the southeast Kansas area. So there's a lot of things happening, but I know we need to look at the information and see what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bertensino.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I look at it is taxes are an investment in the community, right? And I think if we're looking at what needs to be invested in, what areas all need to be give attention to, I can think of a few other ones that would be better fit than the Humane Society or the Recycling Center. I actually went out and toured the Humane Society. I spoke to them. It's an incredible service ran by incredible people. They do a lot of work, like you said. 90% of the animals come from Pittsburgh. And so if these agencies shut down, it would be a detriment to our community. You know, they keep our streets safe, they keep our neighborhoods clean. I think we have an obligation to help these agencies because we're also contributing, right? We're contributing the waste, we're contributing the animals. And so I think it's important that we are working with these communities, working with these organizations to support them. I also understand that, you know, I agree that it's a county issue. It's not just a Pittsburgh issue, right? And so I think it needs to be something that we collaborate with other communities. I think there's a lot we can do on the city side to collaborate with them to take some burden off them. So whether it's maybe looking at responsible pet ownership, maybe it's looking at what services we can provide the city in terms of vaccinations, immunizations. There's a lot we can do on the city side to support them. I don't necessarily think we have to necessarily take it on ourselves, though, right? I think there's a lot of wiggle room there for cooperation and collaboration. But I do think these are definitely services that need to be supported, and I think it's up to us as a city to address those issues the best we can.
Okay, thank you. Our next question from the audience will be answered first by Ms. McDay, and it basically gives all of you a chance to dig into something that you've all mentioned tonight, and that's affordability, whether it's food cost, whether it's childcare cost, housing cost, whatever the case is. You've all mentioned affordability and making our community as affordable as possible. So, Ms. McDay, we'll start with you. What can a city commissioner do, and specifically, what would you do? What is your plan to make Pittsburgh more affordable? 90 seconds.
Thank you. I think housing, I think we've all mentioned housing.
Yep.
And the city is working to expand affordable housing at all income levels. And I think the CHIP program has been mentioned. That was a city initiative, working with partners out there for grants, providing affordable housing, building affordable housing. Developers need incentives to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of what Pittsburgh is doing in order to expand housing at all income levels. And that is, and that's a unique way that we've been able to do that. Hopefully that's an evergreen fund that will continue to build. We're also focusing on local builders. So this is a local program. So you can see if local builders, they're providing jobs. In terms of food costs, you know, sometimes that's out of our control. We need to support the agencies that provide food for those that are food insecure, and we anticipate that we might have some more of that. The city has been very courageous, I think, in working with agencies to develop programs that help those that are suffering or are on the lower end of the income. And that's part of what we need to do as commissioners, is not only run the city efficiently, cost-effectively, but we also need to be running programs and looking how we can serve all citizens.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Height?
I think one of the ways that we do that would be to continue, again, I go back to economic development. I mentioned how much it was in dollars earlier, but I think it's important for people to know that there are 18 businesses or projects underway downtown that are either recently completed or underway. I think that's a testament to our community of how much 18 of those people believe in to invest in the community. So I think if you can do that, that brings greater jobs, that brings more jobs, that brings higher paying jobs. And then with increased taxes, the property taxes that those businesses will pay, that helps spread out the cost for the entire community. So as long as we're growing in that respect, that's benefiting all of us. So that's one thing we need to continue to work on, is incentivizing through the revolving loan fund to create and recruit new businesses coming to town, and current businesses reinvesting and improving their current businesses. So I think that's definitely one way we can address that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brooks?
Affordability means different things to many people. Depends on whether you're living in your means, whether your paycheck is, you're keeping the taxes down so you have more money in your wallet. Growing does not mean strangling people to the point where they don't have enough money to go around. A lot of times people are, when they're paying bills and they have money left over, who didn't I pay? I shouldn't have any money left over. That's been the thought of the past. We want to change that. And getting people, making sure everyone's working and that they care. That is a big one for me. Keeping the taxes down. We're taxed to death.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Perry?
Affordability, she's right. It means a little bit different for everybody in their situation, where they're financially stable, where they're not. Where you're in the elder years of your life, or you're at the beginning years of your life. You're starting a new family, or you're established. I think to do that, we definitely need to get housing costs lowered and build more economic homes for startup families and smaller groups. As far as commodities, I think we're still paying a 2.5% grocery tax in this town. So, I mean, there's things we can do. There's lots of things that will compile. It's not just one button, one thing to change. It's several. So we need to get more efficient at where the money goes. We need to look harder at what money is going out of the city and where. And is it needed or is it wanted? And I think if we pump the brakes a little bit and focus on the city that's here now, like I've been saying, and I want emphasis on that, I think we can find a more affordable Pittsburgh if we do that. One commissioner can't do anything by themselves. It takes a whole commission to make this work. So collaborating, coming up with good ideas, workable incentives, and slowing down the outflow of all the extra money will make it happen.
Okay. Mr. Burton Senior?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's not something that any one of us can do alone. It takes the team. It takes the community. It takes all of you coming to us, telling us. I mean, you guys live this life. You know how hard it is to get by. So telling us what you think would make your lives easier, right? So listening, I think, is a core part of it as well. But I want to echo what Don said. I think there's a lot of great work that's being done right now with affordable housing. I had a conversation with Becky Gray a while back, and she's doing a lot of amazing work out through community health on getting more affordable housing out there. So I think part of it is definitely supporting the ongoing efforts that are taking place in our community right now. It's also, again, going back to zoning reform, making it easier to build more affordable housing, making it easier to create new child care providers, and making sure that we're connecting people who are interested in being child care providers with the resources that they need. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. There's a lot of startup costs that we can help with. And so just making sure that we have resources for people who are interested in getting involved in tackling these problems. And then, I think in general, it is a transparency thing for me. I think it's true. Running a city isn't cheap. And that means that sometimes we will have to raise some taxes in order to continue to provide the amazing services that we all rely on. I think it's just important that the city makes clear that if we're gonna raise taxes, we're being very clear on what this money is going to and why it's necessary and how we plan to offset the burden that might be placed on working families.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Harris?
Absolutely. I think the current economic development paradigm that the city of Pittsburgh has is using our economic incentives, our leverage, to secure investment from big business. And there's a lot more than that. It's not so black and white. And this is really important for our town to continue to grow. As Stu articulated, we have amazing returns on small investments, and that's wonderful. But we need to make sure that the people in Pittsburgh that essentially whose property taxes are being subsidized for these developments are not getting left behind. And so this, to me, means that we continue to encourage development in affordable housing. Right now, thousands of people come into Pittsburgh every single day that don't live into Pittsburgh just to work. Making sure those people have housing opportunities will give us a unique ability to expand our tax-paying base in Pittsburgh to generate more taxes for the incredible economic developments that we've seen without just putting that burden on the people already living in Pittsburgh now. A focus on the future is key, and there are so many unique ideas that we can bring to the table when it comes to expanding availability for housing and childcare and targeted property tax relief, or something like working with local people to draft a program to challenge the county on property tax valuations, which you can do in a 30-minute or in a 30-day window. I think there are creative approaches we need to be considering for the future.
Okay, thank you all. Seeing that the time is 6:52 and we have a school board candidate forum coming up at 7 o'clock tonight, I encourage everybody to stick around for that. We'll now transition into our closing statements. Each of our candidates will be provided up to 2 minutes for a closing statement, and sticking with our rotation here, first closing statement will be given tonight by you, Mr. Height.
All right, thank you, Blake. Well, I think the bottom line is, posed the question earlier about the future, the 10 years. Well, let's look back 12 years, from 2013 to 2025. Over $770 million were brought to this community by someone who believed in this community. I only hope that we can achieve that same goal, if not surpass it, in the next 10 years. So, we're not going to cut services. We have dedicated city staff that do an amazing job. We want to make sure we retain them and recruit new people to take the people that are going to retire's places. And that's across the country. That's not just in Pittsburgh, but that's the workforce is a changing, evolving thing, and we need to be able to keep up with that with the city of Pittsburgh. So, I just think that with smart leadership, community involvement, and that we are so key in Pittsburgh that we rely on so much community involvement. It's amazing what we get done in our small little community of less than 21,000 people. And I think we're all proud of it. I think that shows by your interest being here. You want the best for your city. We want the best for your city, for our city. So I would be honored if you would all go out and vote on November 4th. I'm afraid it could be a small turnout. I hope I'm wrong. But I would also be honored and privileged to, if I could have one of your 3 votes and get reelected on November 4th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Height. Ms. Brooks?
My closing statement is my pledge to the citizens of Pittsburgh. I will respect each person. I will keep an open mind and share responsibility because this is our town. I will listen to understand, not listen to respond. I will be accessible to all. I will always be accountable. It is my duty as a commissioner to be fair and impartial and to make decisions based on trust and verified facts. That's important. I will do what I say and say what I mean. I will ask questions. I always have, and I always will, and I'm not about to stop. I will always work to put the citizens first where they belong. I do not work for city leadership. I will not take a blind eye approach to anything that is not transparent or good. I don't have all the answers, and I don't claim to have them. I don't have things figured out, but I am never one to shy away from a challenge. Just know that I am all in when I am elected your next Pittsburgh City Commissioner. I'd like to thank Blake in the chamber, Ron in the Morning Sun. Thank you to hosting this forum and allowing people the opportunity to hear what these people have to say. Thank you, DJ, Jack, Isaiah, Don, and Stu. You put yourselves out there for the betterment of Pittsburgh and its future. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Mr. Perry, 2 minutes.
All right, well, I'm not a politician. I don't claim to be. I'm a retired Army veteran soldier. I'm a father. I want to bring the change to Pittsburgh that Pittsburgh deserves. I'm coming. We're going to get deeper. We're going to dig into the information, and we're going to do it the right way. We're going to have more public input. We're going to have the faith in this commission rebuilt to the citizens of this community. People are going to come here and not be afraid to get up and speak. They're not going to have this silly 3-minute clause that they can only talk for 3 minutes. We're going to listen to them all. We're going to hear what they have to say, and we're going to make a difference.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bertensino.
Yeah, one of my campaign slogans, I guess you could call it, is that all politics is personal, right? And I truly believe that. You know, when a parent has to choose between paying rent or buying groceries, that's personal. When a special needs kid is struggling in the classroom and not getting the education they deserve, that's personal. When someone is priced out of their home, where they raised their family, where they built their lives, that's personal. I think local elections like this are so important because they have a direct impact on people's lives. Right? Whoever we elect on November 4th will have a direct impact on people's lives. And that matters, right? And that's powerful, right? I think that is the purest form of democracy, that we, the community, get to shape our community and we get to shape each other's lives. I am running because I care about people, right? And I care about Pittsburgh, and I want to make a difference. I'm running because I want to build the type of community I want my kids to grow up in. And I'm running because I want to be able to look back and say that I gave back to the community. And I'm hoping to inspire other young people like myself and Isaiah to get involved in the community, to run for office, to put yourself out there, and to give back to your neighbors and to your family and to people who care about you. And so thank you for you guys for putting this on. Thank you to everyone who was up here tonight. It was amazing. I think we have truly an amazing slate of candidates here. And yeah, we have our differences, but in general, I think we are all committed to solving the same problems. And I would be honored to receive your vote in addition to any one of these candidates up here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
Thank you. I think the question that voters are being asked on November 4th is, of course, who do you want to represent you on the Pittsburgh City Commission board? And for me, that question is deeply personal because of the experiences that I've had growing up in this town. I want a commission that I know I can trust to represent the people of Pittsburgh who have struggled, because I have. I've lived in this town all my life. I've experienced living paycheck to paycheck. I've experienced homelessness. I've experienced the pride that you feel for working for every single thing that you own, and the fear that you have that you might one day lose it. I am running to make sure that the people of Pittsburgh have that exact same opportunity to be able to work for the things they have and not be afraid to lose them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. McNay.
Sure. You know, several of you mentioned that, I think your mother's worked at Superior. That closed in 2008, and that was a loss of 600 jobs, and that was devastating to our community. And our city leaders looked around and they said, we can't have that again. And starting in 2013, excuse me, city leaders, not just city manager, but city leaders worked to have a more broad spectrum of sectors that contribute to our economy. And right now, we have multiple sectors. If one sector has a little bit of a dip, there's a balancing because we have other industries, healthcare, education. That's been deliberate and specific and strategic. And that helps us to where we are today. We are a resilient community. We've always been resilient when things have happened. And I'm really proud of Pittsburgh. I'm proud of where we are right now. Housing, we've added childcare. the commissioners have input into the budget. It's not a city manager budget, it's a commissioner budget. We have 5 or 6 opportunities to look at the budget and determine what we want to vote for. Pittsburgh is doing great, but we do have opportunities so that everyone can have the benefits of what we're doing. And the city really has they've expanded their lane. They are working with agencies, they're enacting programs such as the Pathways to Hope to help people that are unsheltered. We have a broad spectrum of what we're trying to do in our community, and that includes all of the things we've talked about today. I feel very passionate about Pittsburgh. I think I come to the commission with a lot of experience, and I would appreciate your vote on November 4th. Whether or not I win, I will continue to fight for Pittsburgh and be involved. And again, I think it's very heartwarming that we have 2 young people because we need to foster the next generation.
All right, thank you. I hope our audience members will give our candidates a big round of applause. Thank you again for your time tonight and for being willing to run. As I mentioned, we've got a school board candidate forum coming up, so we'll take a quick break, turn the room around, and get started with that.
So
Thank
get
you
the
again.
heck out of the way.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a candidate forum tonight focusing on the upcoming election for USD 250 Board of Education. It's hard to believe. Election day is just a couple of weeks away. This is a great opportunity for the community to hear directly from you on your thoughts and plans. Introduce myself at the beginning of the last forum, but Blake Benson with the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce, Ron Womble with the Morning Sun, who is our co-sponsor here this evening and will serve as a proctor on the questions. First of all, thank you to the candidates. Thank you all not only for your time here this evening, but for being willing to serve on the USD 250 Board of Education. I'll grab that for you in just a minute. Okay. It says volumes about your dedication to the school district, that you're willing to serve in this role, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you to Ron in the Morning Sun. Thank you to the City of Pittsburgh for allowing us to host this here this evening. I understand our live stream is now working. So we had some problems with that a little bit earlier. So we not only have a number of people here in person, but we also have a number of people that are watching online. So thank you to Ryan and Jeff for that. Thank you to those of you that are here in person. I would ask that you please respect the candidates, because you're the ones that we're here to hear from. So please keep the chatter to a minimum, and be respectful of all the candidates for your time and for your willingness to serve. So the ground rules and the format for this evening: each of our candidates will be offered 2 minutes for an opening statement. We'll then go into a couple of prepared questions that you've received in advance. You'll have 90 seconds to answer those. We'll also get to some questions from the audience. For anybody that's attending tonight and wants to submit a question, we have notepads at the back of the room along with pens. Would ask that you write down your question, submit that to Mr. Womble here. Our criteria for the questions is the questions have to be fair and applicable to all 6 of the candidates. If it does not meet that, then it doesn't even have a chance of being asked tonight, and we'll just get to as many of those as time will allow. But if you are interested in writing one of those questions, we have pen and paper at the back of the room. So if there are no questions for me as the moderator, I'll kind of help you stay on top of the time. When you have 30 seconds left, I'll hold up. This is as close to yellow as I could find at 5:30 this evening. But this is your 30-second notice, and then when the red card goes up, you're out of time. So I'll do my best not to be disruptive, but as soon as you see that, I'll take it back down just to kind of help you stay on track with your time. So we drew numbers earlier this evening to see what order we would go in, and Ms. Smith, you drew the number 1, and if you'll give me just a minute to get my stopwatch here, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Hello. It's so fun to be here in this position because it's been a long journey. My name is Emily Smith, and my relationship with the USD 250 School District started nearly 20 years ago when I started my teaching journey at Pittsburgh High School. And as I look out at the crowd, I see former parents of students I've taught, I see former graduates, and I see former colleagues and friends. And so it's really fun to have this opportunity to get to talk to you a little bit about why I decided to run for the school board. So I spent nearly 15 years teaching at Pittsburgh High School, working with all students 9 through 12 with all abilities, and really fell in love with the student population and the diversity that represents the Pittsburgh district. And I also had the unique opportunity throughout that time to own a small business that hired some of the students that went through our programs, such as the Career and Technical Education Center, that is a group project amongst many schools in Southeast Kansas and other area organizations that throughout the years that I taught at Pittsburgh High School, we fought continuously to shine a light on as one of the many different opportunities that are available to the diverse students that are in Pittsburgh High School. So one of the reasons why I decided to run for the school board was because after nearly 20 years as an educator, I entered into a different relationship with Pittsburgh, which was as a parent. I have 4 young students that started their journey with Pittsburgh at the Family Resource Center and spent nearly we did spend a decade as patrons of the center. And all of my children went there for daycare and for early childhood, for preschool. And now they're all 4 at Lakeside. And it's the only year they'll all be in the same building. But because of that, and my vast experience with working as an educator and now as a parent, as a lifelong member of this community, I feel like I bring a very unique perspective and skill set to really kind of enrich the community and to build upon a lot of the success that has already been established within Pittsburgh. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm really excited to hear what everybody has to say and to answer your questions that you have.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. George, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Emily George. I also was a teacher for USD 250. I'm a transplant, though. A decade ago this year, my husband and our 3 sons moved to Pittsburgh, and we chose Pittsburgh. So we had a couple of options for positions. He was looking for a biology professor position. And Indra Stefanoni took us around town, and I was kind of on the fence. We had a wonderful home, wonderful community. It was very involved where we were in Columbia at Mizzou. So I was heartsick. But then we went to Shrek, and it was the high school musical Shrek. And if you guys remember Shaw, and also Mr. Neal, who's doing music at the time, the students were running the lights. The students were the actors. The students were doing the music. And I thought, okay. And it was so packed that we didn't have a seat. We were like, she'd give us little Shrek ears, and we were standing in the back because the whole Memorial Auditorium was packed. So I fell in love with Memorial Auditorium. I fell in love with the school system, and I thought, if the schools can produce this, then I can bring my sons here. So I did. My youngest was not yet in preschool. He was very small, he was just 1. So I taught at the university until he was pre-K age. He went to Little Gorillas in the center. And then I started teaching in public schools again because I had missed being in the classroom. I taught at Parsons, and then finally a position opened up at PHS. I tried to get the art position to work with Mrs. Lomchek, but someone else who was more qualified for the position got it. But Colin Hart asked me on the way out, she was like, well, we have an English position opening up. And it was wonderful for me. I have deep relationships with many of my colleagues from the high school, a lot of the students. And I knew that if we were digging our roots here and trying to dig deep, that anytime I had an interaction with a child that was developing a family relationship that would last, right? I'm building out of the community in which I live and my own sons are going through. So the schools are very important to me, and I'm out of time, so I'll tell you more later.
Thank you, Ms. George. Mr. Carlinger.
Well, my name is J.J. Carlinger. I'm running for USD 250 because I believe in the power of public education. I have a background in law enforcement and in coaching, and in that I believe that collaboration and accountability and listening all become part of an ingredients that make for a successful school and entire school system. I'm a lifelong resident of Pittsburg, Kansas. I'm a proud product of Lakeside, back when I think they were the Wildcats back in the day. Also went to Pittsburgh Middle School and a graduate of Pittsburgh High School in 1999. My wife Angela and I have an amazing son, Cash, who also a proud product of Lakeside and currently a 7th grader at Pittsburgh Community Middle School. I've witnessed really firsthand our teachers and the way that they go above and beyond to help with struggling students. And I don't mean just in an academic way, I mean emotionally they're there for them. And that shows me that we have a lot of really good that goes on in there. That's one of the things that's inspired me to do this, that and the opportunity to give back to the school system that really made me who I am today. So even I think about this, like I go back and think about the Lakeside School song, you know, I mean, to me, like, that's one of the things that I remember still. So, you know, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you guys tonight, and the opportunity to earn your trust and hopefully earn your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Owens, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Shailene Owens, and I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank these other candidates for also running because it's taken some time and commitment. But I want to let you know I'm a dedicated mother with 2 children. I have 2 kids that go to USD 250. I have a son that goes to the high school and a daughter at the middle school. We're not from Pittsburg, Kansas. We came here in 2017, and we've been here. My husband is a basketball coach, and that's what brought us to Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh has really grown on us. For my day job, I like to tell people that I'm a professional janitor, but I work at TFI where I'm a vice president, and we work with kids who have been removed from their home, and we work to reunify them back home. And if they're not able to do that, then we work with kids to get them adopted. So I had the experience of being in child welfare for 20 years. I hold a master's degree in social work and worked with at-risk families. So I feel like the school board is something that I do daily. It's just in a different capacity. I really work on trying to make best decisions for children and families, and that's something that's hard. But we're dealing with kids that are at risk in hard situations, and I feel like me being a part of the school board is also going to be helping the kids that go to my foster kids that go to our schools. In regards to that, I also feel like it's just important to connect with people, and I have really realized that I know more people in Pittsburgh than I thought we did here, just talking to community members and, the teachers. But what I love about Pittsburgh is that it's a small town, and you really get to know who you're living with, and I just want to continue to make that connection as I work on the school board.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Miller?
Hi, my name is Ruth Miller, and I'm running for USD 250 School Board. I have lived in the community area for 29 years. I came in '96, and I spent 15 years in USD 250. I was the principal at Westside Elementary and George Nettles Elementary. I ended my 31-year career in education in 2011 and retired. The reason I'm running for school board there's multiple reasons, but the one thing that motivated to run was when the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. was dismantled. That caused me great fear and concern for USD 250 and all the other schools in Kansas, but mainly USD 250, because we depended on the federal government to fund our Title I programs. Who are we going to answer to when that building is empty? What happened to all our funding? My kids, when I was at Nettles and at Westside, depended on that money to make the education equitable so they can move on forward and make great gains just like everybody else. Without that money, it becomes very, very tough. I also felt like with my 31 years in experience in teaching and administration, and especially being in Pittsburgh for 15 years in 2 different elementaries, I have the knowledge that it takes to create one really good day in school. And I know the systems that all have to intertwine and work together. And it's not just the teachers in the classroom and the superintendent in the office. It requires the bus drivers, the staff. You have to have everything working up and running. You have to have all the safety guards on. You have to make sure everybody shows up where they're part-time and make sure they've got what they need to do the job, because everybody working together,
I'm gonna have to stop you
especially
there.
the staffs,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
The
I'm gonna have to
classified,
wrap
is
you up,
that it?
Ms. Miller. Yes, it is. Thank you.
They do
It's
a good
amazing.
job.
It's amazing how quickly 2 minutes goes by, right?
Sorry about that.
No, no worries. Mr. Painter, 2 minutes.
Hi, my name's Mickey Painter. I was, a little background on myself, I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh. I was raised in a single, my mother was single and raised 4 kids. And so I found school kind of as an outlet for me. I loved school. I just got excited every day I went to school. So USD 250 has been really transforming for my life and how I've shaped up and developed just with the teachers I've had over the years. So I left here after I graduated high school. I started college at Arkansas University, come back to Pitt State when I changed my degree from ag economics to pre-veterinarian. So I wanted to go to that school at K-State, so I moved back to Pittsburgh so I could be a Kansas resident and get in easier that way. So I moved back to Pittsburgh, lived here for a year and a half, took classes at Pitt State, as many as I could until I had to move to K-State up in Manhattan and finish my prerequisites up there. So I was at K-State for 6 years, graduated Department of Veterinary Medicine with a doctorate degree, left K-State, hated to leave there because I grew to love that community, and went to Las Vegas for a number of years. And my wife is a veterinarian also, and so we was looking and trying to decide, we knew we didn't want to stay there for a long time, so we decided, what are we going to do? So we looked around, and obviously we eventually decided to come back to Pittsburgh, to our hometown. because I'm a big believer in, it's awesome to see our kids go off and become educated or whatever training and learning they do, but to be able to come back and pour in our community, I think is vital. And so we wasn't sure how it was going to work out, but it's worked out great. We raised 2 children here, both graduates of Pittsburg High. They're both in college. One's working on a PhD program now. One's pre-law, about to go into law school. So why I'm running for Pittsburgh School Board again, this will be my 3rd round if so elected, is I love education. I've had 9.5 years education, and so time's up, but I want to continue to serve in that capacity.
Great. Thank you all. So as I mentioned, we'll now transition into a couple of questions that each of the candidates received ahead of time, and you'll have 90 seconds to answer each one of these, so a little less time than you were allocated on your opening statement. But the first prepared question will be answered first this evening by you, Ms. George. So the first prepared question is this. What do you see as the main responsibility of a school board member, and is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education? You have 90 seconds.
I think that the main responsibility of a school board member is to listen to the community and the values of the community and the values of the school, and to take that into consideration. Also, I've attended all of the school board meetings since deciding to run, and a lot of what they discuss are the budget. So I have also been a small business owner, and I know how to balance those needs. Also very much like statistics, so I love it when they talk about data, and I'm wishing I could speak, but I'm in the audience and not a member yet. But I feel like they are doing their best to balance the needs of the school within the constraints of what they're allowed to do. So I think to be a school board leader, that you have to ultimately be someone who is adept at collaboration, who's willing to collaborate with other people. Was the other part the strengths, or?
Or is there a particular issue that motivated you?
Yes. It is, I'd like to strengthen the parent-family relationships. That was the main goal of, main focus of my dissertation research that I just finished. I feel like the families are so rich in our community and the teachers are so rich in our community, and we need to strengthen that bond. The more we can strengthen the family tied to the school, the fewer behaviors we'll have, the more success we'll have overall in our community. And I'm out of time again.
You're good.
Every time.
You're good. All
Okay.
right, Mr. Carlinger, main responsibilities of a school board member, and is there a particular issue that motivated you to run?
Okay. I think the main responsibilities are setting the goals, the vision, the policies of the district, as well, obviously, as overseeing the budget. Board members, they work best support students and teachers in aligning the needs and priorities of the residents that we serve. And not just the teachers and the students. You know, we want to take it all to, you know, whether it's the cooks, whether it's the custodians and the bus drivers. All of these people are really working their hardest to do the best for our students, and we need to make sure that they get the support that they deserve. As far as what motivates me to do this the most, I guess it would be just the fact that I'm the product of your school system, folks. So I hope you're okay with it. But you know, I love this. I love the school. Our family forever has bled purple. So that's basically what it's been for me, is to give back to something that's given me so much.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Owens.
I think one of the major responsibilities of a school board member is to make sure that we are making decisions, what's in the best interest of the student, and what are the long-term effects about that. I do think school board members are supposed to monitor and make sure that we're using federal dollars appropriately, but also making sure that, you know, the budget's intact. And if we're gonna have to make, as we know, budget cuts are coming, we're gonna have to do that. But also to hold, hold our standards. You know, we're worried. I can tell you one of the reasons I'm running is because I'm worried about the educational standards and how Kansas continues to decrease them and move them, and our kids are not being held to the high standard that they should be. And I want to make sure that our kids are being prepared, you know, to go out there and be good citizens, but also have the education that they need to do and be able to strive. And so I think it's important as a board member to hold them accountable to what we're saying, but also listen to learn, right? To build those connections between teachers and the board and the community, and making sure that we are doing what's in the best interest of children and families.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Miller, 90 seconds.
I believe every board member's responsibility is to ensure that every decision we make as a board, whether it involves the budget, the curriculum, school policy, and safety, that we do it that in the best way, and that make sure that we do not impede student learning with our decisions, that we maximize student learning, that all our decisions are focused on what the outcome will be for student learning. Schools are about learning. That's what they are. And learning doesn't just mean textbook. It also means curriculum and instruction, teacher staff development, funding. Funding is a big part of education, especially when it comes to special ed, and providing equitable education for all students.
You still have 30 seconds.
Oh, thank you. So that's what my interest is. That's what I believe a school board member should be. We should be focused on the student learning, and our budget decisions need to be really investigated and before we make that decision, to make sure we're making the best decision for student learning.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Painter.
Well, I've always said, and most of the current school board members know this, that our main responsibilities is to set policy and to oversee and work with and evaluate the superintendent. That's our two main things that a school board member is responsible for. There's many other things that's been listed here by the panel that we do. We don't make up the budget, but we oversee the budget. We vote on the budget. But the funding part, you know, that all is handed down from the state. And I'll get into that when we talk about the strengths and challenges that we're going to face in coming years. So, but budget, I mean, funding's going to be a big problem in the near future. That's the way on the pace that the state of Kansas is on as far as funding goes. So we're going to face some challenges there. But so responsibilities of the board is to set policy, evaluate the superintendent, work with him. And then the other thing I think is very, very important is to listen to community members. And because we will hear things from community members that people aren't comfortable talking to a superintendent or assistant superintendent about, or even maybe sometimes the teachers. But they feel comfortable if they know you personally to come to you and talk to you. So we take those ideas back, share them with the other board members and the superintendent, and discuss that topic. So that's another big piece of the puzzle. But all the things mentioned here by this panel is important. And everything boils down to, I think, one thing in the school district is what's best for students, and that's what we want to move towards.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Smith.
Yes, as an elected official, I think that it is very important for the board members to listen to all of the stakeholders as they are trying to decide the policies and to provide support for the leadership. But also, I think something that has been lost over the years is that tradition or kind of what has become precedent is that the community and a lot of times the parents are heard a lot by the board, but sometimes the staff and the students are lost in the mix, and they're a huge part of the equation as well. So I think it's important that all stakeholders have equal input while the board is trying to make those decisions as they balance out the want and the needs, and also with the limited resources that are available. And then for the second half of the question, a few of the reasons why I decided it was important to run for the board was because I feel like over the years, Pittsburgh has always had a very strong, very quality teaching staff. And yes, while there are fewer students choosing to major in education in college and to pursue the craft of education, I think that over the years, the district is really struggling to attract and retain quality teaching. And so I think that needs to become a focus, because in addition to that, in some areas, our population is declining, and if our numbers decline, that impacts our funding, and we're going back to the same situation where we're dealing with limited funds. So quality staff retention, also ensuring providing best experiences in the classroom and outside of the classroom, because it's important to provide strong extracurricular experiences. In addition to that, ensuring all the populations have what they need through adequate resource population or allocation, so they have what they need to be successful.
Okay, thank you. Our second prepared question, I think I mentioned we had two. We actually have three. So this will be question 2 of 3 that the candidates have received in advance. Will be answered first this evening by you, Mr. Carlinger. What would you see as 3 strengths of our district right now?
One of the first strengths that I'd like to point out, and you'll hear it over and over again tonight, is the quality of teachers that we have. Not just the teachers, but the support staff as well. When you have a real conversation with them, you can tell the way that they care for the students. It's inspiring to me when you have that conversation and you get a feeling of how much they really do care. We are blessed in this area to have the teachers that we have and the support staff that we have. The second one, I would think the student achievements that we've seen. We've had students that have gotten scholarships to MIT and other prestigious schools. We have a state-ranked debate team. Like we've talked a little bit about, the drama program that we have is just absolutely amazing. And then, of course, you know, the way we've performed on and off the field in sports, I think that's commendable as well. The third one would be our community partnerships that we have. We're lucky to have the university to be able to partner with them. I think the city of Pittsburgh does a good job of partnering with the school as well. And then, of course, our different groups that we have. So just groups, business groups, and other civic groups. I think those are the 3 strengths that have come out to me the most.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Owens, 3 strengths of the district right now.
I want to talk about diversity. I do think that this USD 250 is made up of diversity in regards to, like, when I think about that, we offer clubs, you know, sports. There's a lot of things for our kids to be involved in, but also I think it's important for other kids to see kids that look like them, and I think that's very important. I also think I agree with the longevity with the teachers and the retention. They connect with the students and they make them feel loved, and I think that's also important. I also think too that the community partnerships are very important. You see that the community stands behind. When you go to a Friday night football game, you see all of the community here, and I think that's also important, and it's a strength. But the other thing I think is important, it's a safe environment to send our kids. And for me to go to work every day where I'm seeing kids that are not in safe environments, I like to know when I send my kids off to school first thing in the morning that they're in a safe environment, and I get that here at USD 250.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Miller.
I think the community and the board have a good relationship. The community has vested lots of money in bond issues into building good facilities for our kids to go to, and over the past 30 years. And I tell you, when 2001 came and we passed the first one and Westside had to move and then we had to move back, the kids, when they came into those 2 buildings that were finished, were just, they couldn't talk. They were so happy. They couldn't believe they got this beautiful school to go to. And they appreciate it as much as the rest of us. And I think that says a lot about our community. Our facilities are good. The second thing I think we do, we have excellent grant programs and grant writers in the district. Some are teachers, some are administrators. And if we could keep them going and maybe even expand on that and bring in community people that have written grants and do well in writing grants, that will help fund the budget. Also, I think we have an excellent professional and classified staff. They continue to collaborate and bring about good school days for all kids. And then the tech programs at MS and middle school and high school, our fine art programs in every school. And we used to have a school to work program, and I met many students over the years, and they appreciated that program very much.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Painter, 3 strengths of the district right now.
Well, it's a bad thing about going later in line here, but everybody's mentioned most of these things. So, teachers, you know, when asked that question, I think teachers definitely, and the staff, and all the support staff and everybody involved as bus drivers and janitors. I mean, it takes everybody to run this district. And we couldn't do it without them. You know, teachers are great and they're working very, very hard, and they work, it seems to me like over the years, it's a lot different from when I was a kid growing up, but they work under more difficult situations today, it seems like, than they used to. And we can go on about that sometime, but I'm very proud of the teachers that we have. I'm very proud of the dedicated staff that we have. So I think teachers is a great strength, and I think right now we have a great superintendent, and we're working and they're collaborating well together, and I think they are forming more trust in each other between the administration and the teachers. So I think that's a great thing. I think we offer such an abundance of opportunities for clubs and different things, sports, whatever it may be, in our school district. We know that statistics have shown that if a student is connected with even one group, maybe a gaming group, it may be theater or debate or whatever it is, they are more likely to stay in school and graduate. So we have a lot of opportunities for students in that area. Third thing, real quick, I think our connection and our proximity to Pitt State and filling those teacher roles is a huge benefit for Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Yes, so I think there are several, Dr. Painter touched on this, going later, it makes it challenging because everybody's talked about many of the wonderful things that are within USD 250. On our diversity, of course, our population within itself, but also the teaching staff. There are many wonderful teachers and our support staff that bring so many different strengths to it. But in addition to that, with their strengths are the opportunities that are available to students. We've talked a lot about the extracurriculars and the athletics and things like that and fine arts, but also the C-Tech Center, but then also the college credit through the dual college credit program, and then also the online program for students. Sometimes we have some students can graduate with almost 40 hours in college credit. They're entering school as a sophomore, which saves them a lot of money. But sometimes there are a lot of students that don't know about those opportunities, so I think also tying that back into staff and being able to expand awareness helps with those things. Something that hasn't been mentioned, though, that I think that we have that is very strong is that we have beautiful facilities. It has been something that has been worked on for the last several years, and you've seen a lot of that expansion with the recent developments with the bond issue and adding in the storm shelters and things like that. But we have beautiful places for our kids to play and perform, and so I think that that's something that we need to remember because we've had a lot of people in the community work really hard to bring all that to fruition.
Okay, thank you. Ms. George?
Don't think I'm going to say anything new, but I do think we are people first. I was one of those speech and debate coaches that won the state, so anyway, just going to say. And I agree with what Dr. Painter said, that it's our extracurriculars and our clubs and after-school programs that sometimes are the lifeline for our students when they're being involved. But many of those clubs are run by teachers who are not paid to do so. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they are not. And they're just doing it out of the love of their own heart for the service and to build community within the school. So I feel like our teachers are doing an excellent job, and that is probably the main thing. Additionally, I've served on the KSDE Standards Board, so I'm on the board for ELA standards and for reviewing EPPs, which are education preparatory programs. And I'm a professor of education, so I teach special ed law and a class just on collaboration. And I think about those things when I'm talking with other teachers and hoping that they'll take my students into their classroom for their field experiences. And they always do. And you should hear the things that my teacher candidates say about the teachers and how wonderful of experience it is, including that the resources we have that were already stated. We have a university, we are a college town, so we could strengthen that tie, and we are working to do so. I've been working with Connect Ed downtown, and going to start a summer camp for high school students who would like to be teachers, and just keep building that cyclical pathway of education and community involvement and feeding back into it. So hopefully we can strengthen the community that way to already enrich what we have.
Okay, thank you. And our third and final prepared advanced question will be answered first by you, Ms. Owens. And the question is kind of the flip side. What do you see as the top 3 challenges for the school district over the next 5 years? Top 3 challenges for the USD 250 school district over the next 5 years.
Well, I think the first one that I think we need to pay attention to is we know in the state of Kansas right now, school enrollments are down. And we want to make sure that we figure out and really plan around that. Because if we don't have high student enrollment, we will not get the funding that we need to keep our school afloat. The other thing I think that we need to continue to pay attention to is we know that children thrive in their school environment, and we need to make sure that we're having effective mental health services. We know that kids are not getting their mental health needs, and I think one thing that is benefit, and I'm thankful for like Crawford County Mental Health, is that they allow therapists to come into the school and provide that need. We know that when kids have good coping skills, right, and they can be able to explain to someone how they're feeling, they're going to do better. And so I think we really need to pay attention to that. But the other thing is we know, right, budget cuts are coming. So I think we're going to need to be prepared about that. And we understand that those funds are allocated, but we're going to have to start being proactive and figure out where we might need to utilize the funds that we have and get people on board with that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Miller?
Ditto. I think one of the biggest things will be funding and trying to find the funds, especially when next year rolls around. With a hit by the feds and the state, and with special ed not being funded like it needs to be, so those kids can have equitable education and the services they deserve. I think we, like she said, we need to reach out to the community. The mental health programs that we have in our schools are excellent. They're well done. They've always been good. And when I was working on the coalition with Sandy Horton, our former sheriff, we had several agencies come in and work side by side with us and the teachers with helping parents help their kids and help us help their kids. And that closed the gap on a lot of problems with that student and learning. The final thing is, we're gonna need to work on our community skills, and the community's gonna need to have to work with us, because that budget cut hit is gonna be big. And they are going to have, the public is just gonna have to come in and help us. And we've gotta utilize them. And that's what I say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Painter, top three challenges for the school district over the next 5 years.
Well, Shailene mentioned one of them, well, a couple of them's been mentioned here. One of them is enrollment. This school year, we are down 100 students overall from last school year. And what that means to USD 250 is about a $600,000 decrease in state funds coming to us, but that'll affect us next year. So next year, we're really gonna get hit with that. So some of the top challenges I have, it really has to do all with money. Money for special ed is taking a big hit. Between the state and the federal funding, we are supposed to get reimbursed at 92% for the cost for us to have a special needs child met. Right now, we're getting reimbursed, or last year was getting reimbursed at 74%. This year, it's dropping to 72%. What that means to USD 250 is an extra $500,000 out of our general fund to go to pay for special ed. What can we do about that? It's nothing that we can do in this community. That's at the state level and the federal level. But that's a real challenge for us, and it's getting tougher every year because the cost to educate a special ed student is going up every year. And last year we had 48 autistic kids in our district. This year we have 61, and those are the most expensive children to educate. So special ed funding is a big challenge for us and going to continue to get worse. And then the at-risk funding. At-risk funding is some funds that we also get in addition to the base state aid, and that helps pay for pairs, it helps pay for after-school programs, and it helps pay for summer school. So a lot of it has to do with funding, and again, I could talk more about it. Thank you.
Another 3 hours.
That's 3 hours.
I'm going to sound a lot like the previous candidates because many of the main issues that everybody's talking about are the most important ones. And of course, as everybody has already kind of touched upon, if our enrollment continues to decline or is not at the numbers that we anticipate, that does directly impact our funding, as everybody has kind of talked about. which would impact our ability to provide quality programming. So I won't talk too much about that because there's only so much that can be talked about. And some of that is not stuff that we can control. We can only deal with what the legislation decides, and so half the time you don't even know what rules you're playing by. But something I did want to talk about that Ms. Miller touched upon was the social emotional health programs provided by the area agencies. But something that we need to continue to do is also focus on how to build community, because social emotional health comes from relationships. And with the way that education, the tide is turning with more digital online, we really need to focus on our soft skills, our interpersonal skills, our problem solving, because that's where our daily interactions come from, is the social ability to have that connection with people. And as AI picks up speed, we're going to have to make sure that our young people know how to have conversations and to navigate daily life. So let's just stop with those.
Thank you. Ms. George?
To reiterate the same fiscal issues, we know that number of students on count day is how many dollars that they get in the school. Yeah, and so that is a problem also that could be tied to city commissioner, right? Or anything having to do with our city. If we make our city attractive to families who want to move here, and we have our buildings that are attractive and our programs are attractive, then we will increase the amount of students who go to our schools and increase our funding and our ability to navigate all of that. I also think that there are some big hits coming. Being on the KSD's board, I know that there's a literacy initiative that all of the ELA and all of the elementary teachers are having to go through, and it is not easy. I have done it. It is difficult. As a high school lit teacher, you're not really taught about phenomes, but the next pathway is going to be math. There'll be a math initiative coming from the state as well. So we have to get ready for that. So we need to think about how we're going to support our existing staff with that extra burden of training, along with every other responsibility that they have. So we'll do that. So I know that we are really great at recruiting new staff, but we can support our current staff as well. And those student outcomes, I think that we could just do better. Anyone can go on to KSDE Data Central and look at the testing scores. You can do it by demographic and see that we have some growing to do. And that's not anyone's fault necessarily, but it is a focus. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Carlinger?
No surprise, funding is obviously going to be an issue. I think ensuring that the funds that we do get go to the where they're going to make the biggest positive impact in our school district is important. Acquiring and retaining not only high quality and qualified teachers, but also retaining the students is going to be a key issue for us as well. Pittsburgh has some challenges. We do have some higher tax rates, and wages aren't as much as all of us would want, right? So that's also an issue, but that's something that we can work with. Speaking to that, I think the poverty rates in our area too do have an impact. We want to make sure that our students can see themselves and that their prospects are bright. And I think as long as we stay on top of that, I think we'll be able to do that. But I think that's a challenge that we'll have to overcome.
Okay, thank you all. We'll now transition into questions from the audience, and appreciate Ron for filtering those. We've heard several times tonight about the importance of teachers in our district, and I think that's something that is shared across the board, no pun intended. But it's well known that the teaching profession, and Ms. Miller, you'll get a chance to answer this first. The teaching profession is losing a number of teachers. So what will you do to support teachers and the teacher retention effort? So specifically in response to the teaching profession losing so many teachers, what would you do on the USD 250 Board of Education to support teachers and the teacher retention effort?
I would definitely take a look at the budget and see how we can expand the staff development, because staff development is pretty much everything for a teacher or any employee in any business. You got a problem with students that aren't behaving correctly. You got a staff development program that isn't being consumed by two other teaching training, that we need to increase that funding then, because there are more than problems that are intervening with maximizing student learning. I think we need to add the also bring in community programs to help the teachers, educate the staff, develop new things going into the classroom. I also think we need to work with PSU and see if they can come up with a program that would pay teachers to be mentors for new teachers. That is a good program, and it was here in the past, and it didn't cost that much. And it really helped teachers that are coming into the program. You don't learn everything in student teaching. So when you get in and you work with students you never worked before, you don't have any answers. And when you don't get to go get trained or have somebody to go to ask for help or how to do it, handle the issue, you're just lost. And you don't like that feeling. Not when you want to be a teacher.
Thank you.
And that indicates we need to do more for them,
Okay,
all the way
thank you.
around, because
Thank
without
you, Ms. Miller.
them,
I'm gonna have to-
student learning won't happen.
Ms. Miller, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Painter, what would you do to support teachers in the teacher retention effort?
Well, so, each year, at negotiation times, we always look at the teacher salary. We've tried to add as much to the base as we can, which is kind of a trickle-up effect, because the more we add to the base, the more those who've been around a while, the more they make. So, salary is one thing. Everybody says we need to pay our teachers more. Don't disagree there. We do have a limited budget, just like we do in our own households. You get a certain amount of money, and you got to choose how you're going to spend it. So it is a fine line. We all would love to give teachers more, but there's also many other areas of need in our district. So you try to size that up and decide where you're going to put your dollars. And I think that we work very hard and very diligently to pay our teachers as much as we can. So I think trying to continue to up that base state aid as much as we can, again, going back to the funding level from the state, that's going to get more difficult in the near future. I think Ms. Miller brought up a good point. I think we've discussed this at the school board to see if we could partner with Pitt State and maybe start providing a mentorship with students who are still in high school, maybe even get those who might be interested in becoming a teacher at a freshman or a sophomore level, and maybe working with them and providing them some incentive that if they go on to get the teaching certificate and come back and teach at Pittsburgh, that some of that education could be possibly funded. So we're looking at that, but it's a real problem. Across the state of Kansas, where I think right now we're short about 200 some students. And so it's a growing issue, and there's multiple factors for that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Smith?
I think this is a very important issue that directly impacts USD 250 district. And one of the reasons why is because years ago when I was teaching at the high school, if there was a vacancy within our department, originally, they would give us a list of about 25 candidates. And they would say, pick from the top 3 to 5 who we should interview for this job. Towards the end, when I left Pittsburgh High School, they would have no candidates to review. And a lot of the people who are currently teaching at the high school, there's a good chance that they're not even highly qualified in the area that they're teaching. And they're possibly teaching on an emergency sub license because they don't have the necessary qualifications. And if we're in such a proximity to all of the universities in Kansas that are pumping out all of these teacher candidates, if Pittsburgh is one of the highest paid teaching districts in the state, which it is, and we have these beautiful facilities and these wonderful families and all of these resources, and there's over a dozen districts within driving distance, why is there not a wait list to teach within USD 250? There has to be another reason, which goes to why. So it has to be the environment. We're either not providing enough support, whether that's mentorship or resources, or it's directly impacting the leadership. And so we need to go back to what do we need to do to really attract and retain quality candidates that want to be in our beautiful district.
Okay, thank you. Ms. George?
I don't have to be on the board to answer that question or to fulfill that question, because that's literally what I'm doing. I'm a teacher of teachers, and I am building the connections. That's my project now that I've done with my doctoral degree. So I'm helping build those connections to help train teachers that would then feed into USD 250. We're working on an agreement where if they are licensed with Pitt State, then perhaps there's some way that we can have their education paid for if they also want to teach in Kansas. And these are all questions that we've been discussing on community outreach boards, not just within the university, but with local businesses, and these things are happening. So I hope that that encourages you some. The main lack of teachers is our special education teachers. We cannot find them. They are not getting trained. There's very few who even choose to do the unified program, which means they do that dual licensure of a gen ed teacher and a special education teacher. And we're looking at why. Most of the research says that teacher attrition, why we lose them so quickly, isn't pay. And like Emily said, we are paid pretty well. I was paid pretty well at the high school. It is generally a lack of support systems. So if we can connect our teachers with those within our community, that would really support them. And I agree with the mentorship ideas. Those are wonderful. And then it is sometimes, and this is secondary, people think it's first. It's classroom management and then feeling of supports from admin. And I think that is something that we could change with some focused professional development.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carlinger.
The first step I believe in is getting out there and speaking with as many teachers as possible to learn exactly what it is going to be the biggest benefit to them, and making sure that we try to find a way to make that impact on them and be positive about it. Also, with Pitt State being as close as it is, those partnerships be further developed to see what they can do to help us provide what we need to be successful. And then again, the community, the support from the community. I think we've seen it. I've held barbecues and things like that for the community, and you do see it. So if we can get more involvement from the community, then I think that would be an excellent way also to entice great teachers to stick around here.
Okay, very good. And Ms. Owens.
I can't disagree with what a lot of they've said, but something that I've learned and something I'm dealing with my job is, right, we have a shortage, but I think we need to listen to learn and really get with the teachers and figure out why, those that have longevity, why do they stay? Research has shared that people stay because they're connected to their supervisor and they feel supported in their environment, and I think that's something that we might have to look at. I do think we're gonna have to also look about, is there incentives that we could be offering to keep them in our district, right? Yes, the money is great, but if people do not feel comfortable and do not feel secure and do not feel connected to where they work, they're not gonna stay no matter how much money they are making. They're just gonna come to work being miserable, and I think that's something. We need to be connected and making sure. I hear people talk about community, so we really do need to take the word unity and make sure that we're unified and we're supporting them. I think as a parent, when a teacher calls about my kid, I'm like, they better not be calling and tell me they did something wrong. But I want to know, how do I support you in your classroom? And I think that's very important. I do think we're going to have to look at how we're recruiting, and we're going to have to not only connect with PSU, but KU, all of these other places to come and recruit so we can get good teachers here.
Okay, thank you all. Our second question from the audience tonight will be answered first by you, Mr. Painter. And it's been mentioned several times tonight that budget cuts may be in the district's future. If that is the case, what does that mean for the extracurricular activities that everyone agrees are so important for our students? If budget cuts are in our future, what does that mean for the extracurricular activities that everyone agrees are so important for our students?
I hate to even think about that one. That's gonna be tough, because all the extracurriculars are funded by what we call supplemental funding. And so the teachers that lead these programs get supplemental pay on top of their base salary. So that is extra dollars spent out of our budget, and that is a significant amount. And so that would be one of the things, because we hate to cut staff. There's a lot of things that we don't want to cut, so you have to prioritize what would be cut first, if those cuts have to be made. And We don't know, but we're afraid that something's gonna have to give in the next just really 2, 3, 4 years. There's gonna be some changes made. That would be huge. We'd hate to do that. There's no cuts. I mean, if I look at our budget and where we spend our dollars, I can't think of a place I wanna remove dollars from and say, we don't really need that, or we don't need as much money there. So it seems like we always need more money. I mean, no matter what the state thinks, they're trying to claw back dollars, I think, from us, but we can always use more money. We can, so there's areas to look at, but the extracurriculars, we hate to do that because for the reasons stated earlier, it keeps kids connected in school. And I think it does help improve our graduation rate, which is huge because we're always talking about graduation rates and how do we make those better. Well, that's one of them. And so I can't think of any areas I want to decrease funding in, and I would hate to do it in the extracurriculars.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
From years past, I think that every year the budget is always a concern, and it's always a lot of fear-mongering about all the cuts that have to be made. And I can think back to about 10 years ago when we were told we were going to have to pay money back to the state and how we weren't going to have any money within our classroom. And every year there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way to make it work. There is always a way to balance everything out with the wants and the needs, and that without having all the information in front of me to be able to give you an informed decision, I am confident in the ability to be able to balance everything and meet all of the needs, because historically, and it's been able to be done. And I'm confident that we can continue to do so without having to limit accessibility to anything, because we've made it this far without having to do so. Historically, there have never been major cuts in USD 250. There's never been layoffs. We have never removed staff. We have never limited programming. We have never prevented an opportunity to a student to go anywhere, and I'm confident that we will be able to move forward to do so and continue to do so.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. George?
I might misspeak. I would probably ask the superus in the back. But I believe that we haven't changed the budget for extracurriculars in a long time. I think it's years, a very long time. The reason is because there's many parents in the crowd. I'm sure that you know that if your child's in extracurricular, you're doing a lot of fundraising. A lot of fundraising. So constantly fundraising. And I don't mind at all, because I know that that is a huge part of my son's schooling. So I'm sure that if the board were trying to make decisions about allocation, or if they had to make decisions about the budget, I know they don't form the budget, but if they're voting and discussing what might need to be cut or to be informed, then I bet that the community would come forward and would support. One of the main reasons why we would not ever want to cut our athletics and our extracurriculars is because we gain students because of those programs, my family being one of those. Lots of students come over for our band program, or our football program, or our theater program. So I know we won 2 students because of the speech and debate program. So I'm sure that there is something that, and the board knows that, the community knows that, the people would come and speak, and it would be worked out.
Thank you. Mr. Carlinger?
So Pittsburgh in this area, we're a tough group. We don't back down from challenges. If we're faced with a challenge similar to that, we're gonna find a way to do it. Just like we've talked about, whether it's fundraising, whatever it is, we will find a way, we will overcome the challenges, and we will make sure that our students have what they need to be successful in the class and through everything else that they need to do, the extracurriculars. We will find a way to overcome those challenges.
Ms. Owens?
I agree. I don't have information in front of me, but I'm like JJ. I'm going to fight to make sure that our kids get what we need. If that means I got to bake extra, right? We have some bake sales. I'm going to do that. But I also think we're going to challenge people, right, to help us. But I think a thing that we're not going to do is pay to play, because that's not fair for kids. And I think we're just going to have to look at our budget and come together as a community and figure it out.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Miller?
The budget cuts that are coming ahead have never been this big ever in my time here in Pittsburgh. And in order to cut programs, we are going to have the community involved. There's no way around it. And then we have to decide. And the community will have a big input in on that. I'm not for cutting programs. I enjoyed those programs just as much as anybody, and my daughters did too. They both graduated from PHS and they loved it. So I'm realistic here. We're gonna have to figure it out. And we are going to have to make some tough decisions. And that's just the reality of it. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but that's just it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. As we are now at an hour, we'll now transition into our closing statements. And we're back as far as the rotation, back to you, Ms. Smith. So each of the candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And first up is you, Ms. Smith.
Like I told you at the beginning of this debate, that my relationship with USD 250 started as a staff member years ago. I grew up in the community. Actually, I did not go to high school at Pittsburg High School, but I did want to go to high school at Pittsburg High School because of all the cool things that they had going on. I graduated with 28 other students. I mean, I had never seen so many kids before. When I became a parent, I did not live in district, but I knew that I wanted my kids to be purple and I wanted them to be dragons. And so when I had the opportunity to move into town a couple years ago, it was really awesome to get the opportunity to be in the community, to be able to walk my kids to Lakeside, to get to see them play in the neighborhood streets with the kids. And it just really kind of made me fall in love with Pittsburgh all over again from a different perspective. Not from being in a classroom with all of your families, but from being with my family in your classrooms. And I think that if I had the opportunity to represent all the different families in Pittsburgh, I think I would do a very good job for you guys, because I have worn all these different hats within the community and utilized all these different services, from the Family Resource Center, from the C-Tech Center, from Pittsburgh High School, from Lakeside. I mean, I'm just invested in this community, and I feel like I have the skill set. I've got a master's in curriculum instruction. I've got a master's in educational leadership. And as my experience with a business owner, I know how to deal with the financial literacy responsible to be successful as a business owner. The budget is a big deal. It's something we've talked about the entire night tonight. And with my perspective of being in the classroom and being a parent and owning a business, I feel like I just have a unique skill set to really kind of give everybody the opportunity to feel heard. I have years of experience of incorporating a variety of stakeholders' perspectives and feeling like people have the opportunity to be heard, because I think something that has gone away from our district is transparency and open communication and honesty. I think it's time to bring all of those values back to our district so we can be what Pittsburgh used to be, which was really, really good. But I think we could be great again. We've talked about all the great things that have happened here, but a lot of those programs that they've talked about are no longer available. And that's something that we need to think about. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. George, your closing statement.
I am very passionate about people. I like to talk to people. I like to interact with people, and sometimes that can make me come off as a little bit silly. And I am maybe that, but I'm also highly qualified. So I have taught all levels. I'm teaching future teachers now. Because I like to talk to everyone, I make connections, and I really like to collaborate, even with people who are very different than I am. I care a lot about where I live. I don't want to live anywhere else. And my sons are invested in the school, and I miss the high school. I miss walking my kids to Lakeside. I miss all of that. And so I have no end game. This isn't a stepping stone to something else. I just thought that I could serve the community in this way as well. So if you'd like for me to, then I'd appreciate your vote. But if not, then that's okay, because I'll still develop the teachers and I'll still come and talk to you at all the events, and know that I care about you and your families. And if there's any way that I can assist you in my current role, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carlinger.
I took my oath as a policeman in City Hall in 2008. I've been serving this community and surrounding communities since then. I think it gives me a unique perspective of dealing with people and solving problems that maybe not everyone has. I'm fortunate to have that. I'm also fortunate to be a dragon. And, when I look at my son and he puts on his jersey or wears his hat, I couldn't be more proud. And I see the pride that he has. And I want to bring that to the entire community. I want them to, when they look in the mirror and they put on some purple, they know that they're a dragon. And I want them to have the same kind of pride that I have, that my son has, and that my wife, who is a convert from Girard, now has. So, I would certainly appreciate your vote on Election Day. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Owens?
I want to thank everyone for coming out, but I think what I want to share with you is what makes me different is I really understand about child well-being and what it takes to help children thrive. But I also feel like I have good relationships within the community. I understand working with stakeholders, but I also don't struggle to have hard conversations. And I think we need to be prepared to start having some hard conversations. I think I want you to know that I advocate for kids on a daily basis, so it's natural for me. But it's also natural for me to go to fight for our kids when other people say no. I try to find where we can say yes. I think it's important also to involve families because our families are the experts of their children, and they need to be heard. And I want to make sure that I'm hearing from them and understanding them, but also speaking up for them when they feel like they don't have a voice. I am not from Pittsburgh, but I have enjoyed being here from Pittsburgh, and I want to give back to the community that has given to me. I also support other surrounding areas and kids. I am for children and families, and I want people to know that I go to sleep at night knowing that every day I go to work making right decisions for children and families, and that's what I want you to understand about me.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Miller?
I would like to restate that my interest is all about learning, student learning, and that involves test scores, curriculum instruction, teacher staff development, and resurrecting the funding for our special needs and at-risk kids to its fullest amount. I believe in equitable learning, and we need to continue looking that way. We also need to expand other programs. We need to keep looking forward. We need to keep looking onward. These are our kids, and they're gonna have to graduate and go get jobs. I don't know about you, but I don't want my kid coming home when they're 55 and saying, can we move back in? And you laugh, but how do you know? And I think our community, with all my experience in USD 250 as a worker and as a participant in this community does love its public schools. They have proven that time and time and time again. And the community agencies, they're ready to roll. They're ready to work with us to help our kids. And that thing you talked about, but the relationship between families and the schools starts in the schools. Because a lot of parents, they don't know what their role is. They know their parents and they feel bad enough they don't get to come to all the things, and their kid's acting up in school, so they come in fighting because they don't know any other way. And all you have to do is say, come on in, let me get you some water. We need to talk about how we both can help your kid because we both have the same goal. And it might have to take 3 or 4 times and visits, but it will get through because that's when they learn. You're not there to judge them, you are there to help them. And that has been done in USD 250 schools for many years.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that is what I want to leave you with, that I have the qualifications, the experience to help this district get through the next few years with the
thank you.
tough decisions.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Yes.
2 minutes for your closing statements. Mr. Painter.
Thank you. So, thank you guys, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you for all the candidates. I'm proud of every one of you guys. You guys, the community has a tough decision to make. I think there's some very well-qualified people here tonight. I think one of the things that sets me apart from everybody, and this could be a plus or a minus, sometimes when you're running for re-election, either people know your past and don't like it, or they know your past and they do like what you've done. So hopefully I've served this community well for the last 8 years. We've faced some difficult challenges, probably one of the most difficult ones that nobody ever wants to bring up, and I hate to even think about it and use the word, but COVID days. That was a tough time, but, you know, trying to navigate those things, I think we did as best as we could. I think everybody in the county did as best they could with the knowledge we had. So anyway, I've served on the board now for 8 years. I would love to continue. I love education. Anybody that knows me knows I'm easy to talk to, easy to share their thoughts and feelings with me. I take those things back to the board and discuss them, and we try to implement on things that need to be improved upon, that we see can be improved upon. So I think I've served in a capacity so I bring some experience to the table. I think that's the only thing I can say about these people, because they're all wonderful people. I can see well-educated, knowledgeable people, and I can tell, everybody loves Pittsburg USD 250. We all fight for the same thing. We all bleed purple. We all want to continue to bleed purple, and I want to be a part of that. So I thank you guys for having trusted me for the last 8 years. Hopefully you can trust me for another 4, and I would appreciate your vote in November.
Thank you. I hope our audience members will give our candidates a big round of applause. Thank you again for your time tonight. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you again to the Morning Sun for helping make this possible. And of course, thank you to the city of Pittsburgh. So Election Day is coming up on November 4th. I encourage everybody to get out and vote. With that, we'll wish you a great evening.
Thank you.